Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. In the name of Allah, the most beneficent, the most merciful. Assalamu alaikum, dear students of class 9th. I'm your Pakistan Studies teacher, Mr. Asad, and this one is third week, whereas the lecture is second. Before discussing today's topic of the discussion, I would like to establish your connection with your previous knowledge, and our previous topic of discussion was economic deprivation of the Muslims in India. You know, we have had studied 5 particular reasons why the Muslims in the subcontinent were being deprived economically. So we studied that after the war of 1857, the British crushed the Muslims very badly, whereas Hindus didn't take any responsibility of the war and they totally blame Muslims. So what did the British do with the Muslims of the subcontinent? I had told you one by one, heading by heading. The first one is the Muslims were dismissed from government jobs. Wherever they are being employed, whether in army or anywhere, the doors of the jobs were being shut for the Muslims. Although Muslims were having concerned qualification, but even then the British employ less qualified people as compared to Muslims. Secondly, Muslims were deprived from their properties, and wherever they are land owners, they were made tenants in their own lands. And Sir Syed also had mentioned that situation of the Muslims, and he simply said that it was a very tough time for Muslims, and they face every difficulty of life at that time by the rulers, by the British. Number 3, the British not only gave special privileges, but they also help a lot to Hindu businessmen, so that this is the reason that the Hindu businessmen established their monopoly in the local market, whereas the business of the Muslim was ruined because they were getting no support from the British. Fourth point is that industrial revolution was happened in Britain, so that's why they were making better products there, cheap products there, and they import their product here in the subcontinent, whereas as per subcontinent is concerned, Indian Muslims are concerned, their cottage industry totally collapsed because they were not able to compete in the market with the modern industry. Fifth one is subcontinent actually is sending a lot of its product to the Britain, but when industrial revolution happened, now the product from subcontinent were not being exported to Britain or any European countries, whereas lot of Muslims are working in the industry, in the business, so they suffered unemployment. اسی چیز کو اردو میڈیم کے اسٹوڈنٹس کے لیے کہ جنگ آزادی کے بعد جو لڑی گئی مسلمانوں اور ہندوؤں نے مل کے لڑی، اور اس میں جب وہ ہار گئے 1857 کی جنگ آزادی، تو سارا ذمہ مسلمانوں پہ ڈال دیا گیا اور مسلمان قوم کو پھر اس کے نتائج بھی بھگتنے پڑے. انگریزوں نے مسلم دشمنی کی بنیاد پہ، تعصب کی بنیاد پہ جو ہے وہ سرکاری ملازمتوں سے مسلمانوں کو نکال دیا، فوج سے نکال دیا، اور قابلیت کے باوجود انہیں کم قابلیت والے ہندوؤں کو جو ہے نوکریاں دی گئی، مسلمانوں کی جائیدادیں چھین لی گئی، جاگیریں چھین لی گئی، ان کو ان کی زمینوں سے بے دخل کر دیا گیا، ان کی زمینیں غیر مسلموں کو دے دی گئی اور وہ مالکان کی بجائے مزارہ بن کے رہ گئی. اور سر سید نے بھی جو اس وقت حالات تھے مسلمانوں کے اس سلسلے میں بتایا ہے کہ آسمان سے کوئی ایسی مصیبت نہیں اتری تھی جس نے زمین پر پہنچنے سے پہلے کسی مسلمان کا گھر نہ ڈھونڈا ہو. یعنی تمام مصائب کا شکار جو ہے وہ مسلمان ہوئے. کاروبار ان کے بند ہو گئے، مارات ہندوؤں کو دے دی گئیں، اور اس طریقے سے مقامی تجارت جو تھی اس میں ہندوؤں کی اجارہ داری ہو گئی. اور جہاں تک مسلمانوں کا تعلق تھا، جو وہ تجارت سے منسلک تھے، تو یقیناً وہ اقتصادی بحران کا جو ہے وہ شکار ہو گئے. برطانیہ میں صنعتی انقلاب آیا، مال سستا وہاں سے بننا شروع ہو گیا، ہندوستان میں درآمد ہوتا تھا. ہندوستان کا مال جو ہے وہ گھریلو صنعت جو ہے وہ کچھ خاص مقابلہ نہ کر سکی ترقی یافتہ نہ ہونے کی وجہ سے، لہٰذا ان کے باہر کے جو مال برآمد ہو رہا تھا وہ بھی ختم ہو گیا، جس سے مسلمان جو تھے، جو تجارت کے اندر تھے، انہیں بڑا سخت نقصان ہوا. اور جو برطانوی اشیاء تھی وہ تو ہندوستان آتی تھی، لیکن ہندوستان کی اشیاء نہ برطانیہ جا سکتی تھی نہ یورپ جا سکتی تھی. لاکھوں لوگ بے روزگار ہو گئے جن میں مسلمان سرے فہرست تھے. Now, today's topic of discussion is origin, evolution, and explication of two-nation theory. And of course, at the end of this lecture, at the end of this presentation, inshallah, you will be able to define, students will be able to define, explain, and discuss origin, evolution, and explication of two-nation theory. So, first of all, I would like to tell you what is the meaning of two-nation theory. It means that there are differences between two major communities, Hindus and Muslims, which are living in the subcontinent. And what are those differences? Cultural, political, religious, economic, social. These are those differences, dissimilarities between these two major nations of the subcontinent. It means that two nations are here in the subcontinent, Hindus and Muslims. So two different communities are there, and they are having their own philosophy of life. So this theory actually gave rise to the different political ideologies, and that's why those two different ideologies are there, and because of that two-nation theory, partition of the India happened and resulted into independent states. Now, basis of the creation of Pakistan, of course, two-nation theory is the base, because living so many years, hundreds of years together, still individual cultural and civilization differences are there. So that's why, because of two-nation theory, Muslims actually got a direction on behalf of which Pakistan was achieved. And it is also recorded by Al-Biruni that in 1001 AD, he simply mentioned it in his famous book Kitab-ul-Hind, that the Hindu society maintained this peculiar character over the centuries. The two societies, Hindus and Muslims, like two streams, have sometime touched but never merged, each following its separate course. So, what are those factors which are splitting the subcontinent into two nations? Religious differences there, Hindu nationalism is there, cultural differences there, economic and social differences are there, educational differences are there, then political differences are there, language differences there. How? For example, if you talk about religious difference, Islam preach about Tawheed, oneness of Allah, and Muslims are believer of Holy Prophet, peace be upon him, have firm belief on Holy Quran, whereas Hindus believe in many gods, and their prophets are Rishi are the people who see God, they teach about God, and they have characteristics of God. Their writing are called Veds. Now you can see Muslims, their religious differences there, and here you can see how Hindus are worshipping. Two reciprocals. Then Hindu nationalism. Number of Hindu nationalist movements were started there, add fuel to the fire. So they wanted to increase the conflict between these two communities. So Hindu nationalist leaders totally ignore the great contribution of Muslims in Indian society, and they try to push the Muslims on one side. And there was also some movement that aimed to merge the Muslims with Hindu culture. Then cultural differences. What is Islamic culture? You know, Islamic culture, Muslims follow it. They bury their dead bodies. They slaughter the cow. Muslim abhor the tradition of sati. In Islam, every human being are equal. Whereas in Hindu inherited a self-built culture. The Hindus burned their dead bodies. Hindus consider the mother cow as a sacred animal. As a sacred animal, they perform sati and worshipped. There exists a caste system in Hindus. You can see Islamic wedding, and then you can see Hindu wedding. Okay? Social differences are there. You know, clothes, food, household utensils, construction of homes, words of greeting, gestures, everything is totally different. And moral values, ethics, norms, they are also different. Then economical differences are there, because Muslims, in Islam there is a proper check and balance of economy. Zakat is there, Ushar is there, that is compulsory for Muslims. Whereas interest is strictly forbidden in Islam. Moreover, Muslims were thrown outside the government sector, they were financially weak. Whereas Hindus, there is no check and balance in Hindu religion. No concept of zakat in Hindu religion. No concept of interest is there. Hindus were provided with ample opportunity to progress economically. Educational differences there. Muslims didn't receive modern education, and which heavily affected their economic conditions. They couldn't cope with the society because they ignored the modern education, whereas Hindus were advanced in the educational field because they quickly and readily took to the English education. And they occupied the best social status because of the modern education. Political differences are there. You know, I'm talking about 1867 Hindi-Urdu controversy. You know, Hindus demanded that Urdu should be written in Hindi script instead of Urdu script. So it also created gap between Hindus and Muslims. And if we discuss about Congress attitude, Indian National Congress was founded in 1885, but it just claimed that it represents all the communities of the India. But they oppressed all the Muslim ideas, and they only supported Hindus. And in 1905, the partition of Bengal ensured a number of political benefits for the Muslim, but again Hindus launched an agitation against the partition, so it was annulled in 1911. Sir Syed Ahmad Khan, the pioneer of the two-nation theory, said, "I'm convinced now that Hindus and Muslims could never become one nation, as their religion and way of life was quite distinct from each other. Their ways of living, their life is totally different." Sir Syed Ahmad Khan believed this. And Quaid-e-Azam was also a staunch supporter of two-nation theory. He simply mentioned Muslims are not a minority. They are a nation by any definition of the word nation, and by all canon of international law, we are a nation. And Allama Iqbal also admitted it that India is a continent of human beings which are belonging to different languages and professing different religions. So, on behalf of this, he demanded the formation of a consolidated state, not only for the Muslims of India but also for Islam, in the best interest of Islam. So, we can conclude this that Muslims realized that they would lose their religion and cultural identity if they remain a part of British India. They also able to understand the above mentioned difference between them and hence demanded a separate homeland on the ground where they freely practice their religion in accordance with Quran and Sunnah and Islamic teaching. So they demanded a piece of land where their property and life would be safeguarded and secure. So again, I would like to capitulate the topic that two-nation theory definition is their simplest way to define it is that the cultural, political, religious, economical and social dissimilarities are there between Hindus and the Muslims. Religious differences there, Islam preach Tawheed, oneness of Allah, namaz, roza, keeping fast, zakat, hajj, and believe in the equality of man. Muslims are the believers of Allah Pak, Holy Prophet, peace be upon him, and the Holy Book, and hold a passive approach toward life. Whereas Hindus believe in Hinduism, and that is based on the concept of multiple gods, and caste system is being followed there, and they have a very narrow approach toward life. Cultural differences are there. They are having such sort of culture which is a self-built culture. They are inheriting it. Hindus burn their dead bodies, Muslims bury it. So Hindu consider the mother cow as a sacred animal and worship it, while Muslims slaughter it. If you say about social difference, of course they are different social, their life is different, food, cloth, utensils, layout of home, their word of salutation, etc. different. If you talk about economic difference, after the war of 1857, Muslims were crushed economically. Their trade policies were framed in such a way that Muslims' conditions were worsened with the passage of time. So they were thrown out of the government services and their estates and properties were confiscated, snatched by the British. So if you talk about political difference, of course there is a wide gap and different ideologies they are having. That's why they have different political purposes as well. If you see Congress attitude, Congress was founded in 1885, but they were not talking about the right of the Muslims. They are only supporting Hindus. And these are those personalities: Ilham Muhammad Iqbal, Sir Syed Ahmad Khan, Chaudhry Rahmat Ali, Muhammad Ali Jinnah, and simply Sir Syed Ahmad Khan, the pioneer of two-nation theory. He was known as the first person who used the term two-nation theory because of Hindi-Urdu controversy there in Banaras in 1867. Ilham Muhammad Iqbal also propounded the idea of separate homeland on the basis of two-nation theory. And after Sir Syed Ahmad Khan, Ilham Muhammad Iqbal worked on two-nation theory. He explained it in front of the Muslims. And you know about Allahabad Address, where it was clearly mentioned that by comprising Muslim majority areas, there should comprise a territory and formation of the Muslim state in the best interest of not only Muslims of India but also in the best interest of Islam. Quaid-e-Azam also considered the Islamic system fully applicable. So he wanted to establish the system of the country on base of the Quran. So there in 1943, when he was addressing All India Muslim League session, he said, "What relationship knits the Muslim into one whole? Which is the formidable rock on which Muslims